right, my friends, welcome to Allen, Washington. We are outside of Seattle. This is kind of a deep suburb, and this is a whole different climate than what we've experienced before. We're in the Pacific Northwest, characterized by mild, wet winters and warm, dry summers. Check this out. Average annual temperature here, 50 degrees, not bad at all. And that's about what it is right now for this spring day. Now, here's what's interesting though. Average annual rainfall, 39 to 48 annual inches. And I can tell you, I lived in Portland, Oregon, which is about 150 miles south of here. It would rain all the time in the winter. Not a downpour, but just a little bit every single day. Now, summertime though, check this out. The summers are pretty nice here. In August, the average high is around 77 degrees, lows around 56 at night. So pretty interesting climate. Now we're about to meet a second generation building company that's been around since the 1970s. With that being said, build across America, let's get going.
Build Across America, a Build original series, is brought to you by Arkland, Builder's First Source, Huber Engineered Woods, Pella, Truss, and ViewRail.
Hey friends, Matt Reisinger here, and if you don't know me, I'm a builder down in Austin, Texas. And before we jump into today's episode of Build Across America, I want to say a big thanks to Truss. Now, if you're a builder, remodeler, or trade pro watching this, let's talk about something that's been a pain point in our industry for way too long, and that's getting paid and paying your team. And that's why I'm excited about Truss. It's an all-in-one banking platform built just for construction pros, and it's become a total game changer for how I manage money on my projects. With Truss, my clients can pay by ACH, credit card, or check, whatever works for them. Now, ACH, totally free, and credit card fees, well, they get automatically passed to the client. And check this out, there's no hold time on mobile check deposits, so I get paid faster and my cash flow stays solid. Both pretty dang important. Now, when it comes to paying subs and vendors, Truss also makes this super simple. One-click ACH, and they'll even mail a check for you totally free. No more hunting for envelopes or stamps. You can also issue unlimited charge cards for your crew, set real-time spending limits, approve purchases, and get automatic receipt reminders to keep your books clean. It honestly feels like if Amex built a reward system just for builders like us, that would be these guys. Plus, Truss syncs with my accounting software, and it's FDIC insured up to $3 million. No monthly fees, no account fees, and no ACH fees. If you're still stuck in the old ways of doing business, I think it's time to level up. Check out Truss. It'll make running your business smoother, smarter, and way less stressful. Guys, big thanks to Truss for sponsoring this episode. With that being said, let's jump back to Build Across America. Let's get going. From the desert golf course in Arizona to Washington State, look how absolutely green and beautiful we are here. I hear the ocean is only about a half mile from here. But you know what, the rain that they get here, I wouldn't doubt at all if this course actually doesn't have an irrigation system. I mean, if you look at the side of the cart path here, it's absolutely green and lush. And that brings us to this golf course lot that we're actually checking out right here. We're about to meet the Uhler brothers. These guys are second generation builders, Brian and Tim, and they're a fascinating company in that they actually self-perform about 50% of the construction process, including driving this big truck we got right here that's part of the clearing process. Let's go meet Brian and Tim. Brian, Tim.
Matt, how's it going?
Good to see you, man. How's it going? Yes, sir. Tim.
Nice to see you.
So these guys, we've actually known each other a long time. Yeah. Brian's been a contributor on the Build Show Network for a long time, and Tim, everybody knows Awesome Framers on Instagram. Tim is a fabulous frame carpenter, but I was saying to these guys, you guys actually self-perform about 50% of your construction process. Super unique out there in the building world from a builder like me that self-performs about 2% of what we do. What's going on here and how much of this lot clearing are you guys actually doing?
So right now we've taken down all of the trees that we're going to take. Basically, we take down everything that has to come out for where the house is going to go, and then everything around it to actually build the house.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of project development that goes into it, working with the Architectural Control Committee, getting all of their approvals. In this case, we're actually doing our own trucking. So we brushed it out a while ago.
Yep.
You get all of the branches off. You know, I think there was 8 to 10 trees that got brought down, and that's about a 10-yarder. It only holds about 5 tons of weight, but we can put a lot of brush in there, and it's about $150 a load, and we're probably up to about 5 loads so far.
Now, when I think of a rainy climate, guys, I got to tell you, I assumed I was going to get all muddy today because it rained the day before I got here. Yeah. And you know, if you watch any of Tim's videos, I actually worked in Portland for quite a few years. All winter long, it rains nearly all day, every day, right,
yeah.
Tim?
Yep.
But you know, I didn't see what I was expecting. I was thinking we'd have this big muddy mess here, but this is not at all what I'm seeing on the soil. What's up with that, Brian?
I think they call it glacial till, but basically this whole area is overlaid by about 32 to 36 inches of this type of soil.
Wow.
Once you get past the top layer, then you can get into hard pans. So sometimes you have to break out the rake on the excavator and really go for it. But it's called well-graded soils.
Okay.
So you've got a nice blend. It's not like silty clay or things like that. It perks pretty well.
Yeah, so that rain yesterday just flowed on through and is headed out to the rivers and the ocean, right?
And when you've got this stuff on the top, a fair amount of it can drain. So it's kind of like a rain and drain. Some of it perks, but it does rain here quite a bit anyways.
For sure. Now, when I think of the Pacific Northwest, I always think crawl space foundations. What is your frost line here? And what's the reasoning you guys aren't doing basements on your houses?
Crawl space, yes, like 95, 97% of our houses are crawl space.
Almost everything's pier and beam crawl space.
Yeah, I mean, over on the other lot was like 2 foundations that were basement. Like, I think we went for like 15 years where we didn't do a basement, and then we went 2 years where we did like 4 basements.
So the frost depth is like 12 inches.
Okay, so not much.
It's not much. You actually have to excavate deeper just to get your separation from your joist to your soil.
Right.
Like that's more of the governing dimension there.
Sure.
Cheapest way to do it, it's kind of the safest if there's water leaks, any of that kind of stuff. The only time we really get into either a daylight basement where it's usually a walk out the back, sometimes more of a split entry, is governed by slope. I mean, you can see this one here, it's not a bad slope.
Yeah, you got
But if we get to that tipping point, then it's best just to blow out the soil and take advantage of all of that space.
Makes sense. Guys, super excited to go see some job sites. And I really want to focus on what you guys do with water in all its forms here, because this is a really rainy climate. It's persistent is the word I would use for the winter time, Tim. So let's go, how about we go see something else at another stage of construction?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see y'all there. Oh, you know I love some good framing. Love seeing a house at this stage in mechanicals. So much to see in here, Brian.
Well, we are in the Pacific Northwest and wood is coming out our ears, as you can tell.
It's too bad you can't find an awesome framer in this area.
I tried for 44 years.
I've heard they exist.
I've heard they exist too.
The internet told me they do.
All right, so Tim, what is up with all the shear walls everywhere?
Yeah.
Holy cow, every wall needs solid sheathing, it feels like.
It feels like it, right? Well, the more open the space, the more shear walls we need, so
I guess that's right.
they spec'd these to go all the way up to the roof.
Okay, so this is going all the way up to the ridge just about right here.
And all the way down to a footing.
Wow. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
and I would love to know, it is a shear wall, but it also helps to take some of the load off that ridge beam.
I guess that's right, yeah.
So when the engineer went through and designed all this, like all the parts are interconnected. But I wonder, does he even count that, or does he just go, here's the spans, and figure it out?
I
Or
don't
does
think
he
he
actually?
counts it.
I don't think he counts it.
No, it's like energy modeling every stick in your wall, realistically.
It would be
They
more
make some
expensive for him
assumptions.
to sit there and do the math on everything than just to make the assumptions.
And then this wall sheathed too, and it's only sheathed on one side, or are you sometimes sheathing on both sides? Shear walls?
So this wall actually could have been drywall, both sides blocked
really?
and all that.
Okay.
We sheathed it because on the master bedroom side, we needed to frame the ceiling over. There's no way they could have drywalled both sides.
Right.
And then this one stacks over wall that you'll see in the basement.
Okay.
Sheathed, anchored to solid footing.
So usually you get your continuous nailing patterns on the exteriors, continuously sheathed is what they call it. Then if you need the strength, you do OSB or a structural panel. Sometimes it's drywall, 2 sides. Yeah.
Makes sense. Now this is a member we don't see a lot in framing in Texas. That is a big piece of lumber right there.
Yeah, we don't see it often as a stud either.
Is that right?
So we're using Zip R6.
Okay.
So that means we got to nail it 3 inches on center.
Okay, so we got a 3-inch, or
the
pardon me, we got a
perimeter.
full inch of insulation and then our standard 7/16 zip.
Yep.
So 1.5 inches of total depth. And then what's the reason for that 4x6?
So that panel, we're using a 3-inch 131 nail, 3 inches on center for shear. Once you get, I think, under 4 inches, they want us to size up, otherwise you're turning the stud into Swiss cheese.
Right, because you're blowing all those nails
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because it's 3 inches on center on each side of the panel edge.
Interesting.
But you could use, that's 4x, right?
So that's 4x. What the engineer spec'd was 3x, which ironically, in lumber country, isn't readily available. So it was actually cheaper for us to get this. I probably could have talked him into it if we had more of a time frame. It's just double studs.
Right.
Because there's a whole nailing pattern for that that's pretty standard.
Sure.
This, we thought, okay, we'll order it in. We ordered like 18 footers, cut them down. We had nice little chunks for firewood.
Not bad at all. Interesting, though, that you don't see that in too many places in America, but ultimately this was kind of a shear wall thing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think of this area as a seismic zone, but in fact, you guys have a lot of seismic regulations as if we're in San Francisco, right? Like there's a lot of hold downs, a lot of Simpson hardware, shear walls, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's seismic design class D2.
Okay.
Most of the United States is C or lower.
Okay.
The higher you get, the more you're going to get a whole lot of shaking going on.
So this area could have potential movement.
Not only that, but like Seattle was built on fill, so they just had to change some of their presumptive assumptions because that stuff will, turn to liquid.
Yeah.
In a bad earthquake.
They said, imagine you're building on a bowl of Jell-O, and as you shake that, it accelerates. And they're like, okay, we didn't quite realize how, what would you say, almost liquid that Jell-O is once the ground moves.
Liquefaction's the term.
I went years ago on the Seattle Underground tour.
Yes.
And it showed how those buildings were like sinking. And so the street level, 100 years, 75 years ago was actually like 10 feet lower than the current street level. So they made like the second floor windows into doors.
Yep.
And now you enter on the second floor of a bunch of buildings
Yeah.
that were intended to be second floors, and now is the first floor. All right, so back to framing though, Tim. I got to ask you, this is a very unusual, almost like a site-made truss going on here in the ceiling. What's happening here?
So this ridge is a 3-ply that basically hangs on nothing.
Huh.
And then the main ridge, they're all offset. And so what the engineer did is he posted onto this big 5.5 by 18
Okay.
on angles so that everything kind of works together. And then this just defines the vault in here.
Got it.
But then those posts, being that they're so far off vertical to transfer load, he just had us add 2x4s to it's like we just site built the truss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
But it allows us to have a nice big open room.
Yeah, this room's gonna be amazing. This is a huge space. You got a fireplace. You got great light coming in from these windows. What are these? These windows look like there's some pretty beefy triple glaze. What are we looking at here, Brian?
These are the Innotech windows and doors. Yep, I think they're like about a U factor of 0.15.
Dang.
Plus or minus, like maybe up to 0.17. This one's obviously a picture, so it's going to be outstanding. I
Amazing.
tried to do the least amount of operable windows as I could.
Smart. This is an all UPVC frame, made in Canada, but it looks like a European window. But yet it's only shipped probably 250 miles from here. So
Yeah, and they've been pretty amazing. Like they've come out since this is our first one. They helped us do installs. They've helped us with some adjustments. The house has been sitting for quite a while, and I just want to make sure that by the time we come in and insulate and rock and cover it, everything's operating the way it's supposed to.
yeah, I like that. All right, I got to ask you about this bead of sealant at your baseline. I don't see that very often out there in the world. What's that sealant doing for you there?
That's an air sealing thing that our insulation contractor has been doing probably since the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's a good detail. Maybe not as important now that we've got zip on the outside, right? Because we're really using that zip as our water and our air layer. You guys have been doing great zip details for a long time, but that's always a good belt and suspenders to put that bead right there.
Yeah,
that's
I totally agree.
Cheap pair of belt to wear, even if you have a suspender on.
It's like 3 hours for the guy to come in. He's already sealing up the penetrations for fire and air.
They're so fast. They're so fast.
Now, when we pulled into this lot, we actually pulled into the garage in your cool Mercedes van, but it looked to me like this was a sloped lot, and there, I think you mentioned there's actually basement. Did we pull into the garage over a basement?
Yes. At my folks' house, we left all the soil there and dug around it. In this case, we just blew the whole thing out, so we got a whole nother room. And yeah, you drive over living space.
We gotta go see that. Meet you downstairs. Oh man, look at this light up basement. This is nice. I love a good walkout foundation. Does not feel like a basement down here when you've got these big full-size windows. This is gonna be awesome.
Well, and they're 9-foot ceilings, and then we don't have to do bulkheads or soffits because we don't have any ductwork down here, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and speaking of which, also interesting to see I-joists. You know, this is definitely I-joist country, I think of. Where I am in Texas, because I'm almost always slab on grade, we've gotten away from, in the 20 years I've been there, we've never seen, or very few I-joists, because we need all that space for our ductwork. Whereas if you're just gonna throw a couple cans in, I-joists work great. Nice and stiff, easy to work with, trimmable. You don't have to order them ahead of time to a specific length. And you get a really nice, strong floor.
I find that they're really easy to deal with too. If you email them questions, you know, and their software will spot things. Like this particular section, they spotted there was going to be a deflection issue, so they went ahead and said, hey, we think option B should be a wider flange with LVL top and bottom.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
To stiffen it up a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah, these are LVLs, and you got a couple LVL beams here too, probably bringing some loads down. Is that where that shear wall is? Maybe upstairs?
No, the shear wall's right behind you.
Okay.
This was just basically define the stairway so that we could keep framing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I'm going to head back this way because I think this is maybe where that garage was.
Yep,
we got the garage under. Oh, look at this space. You got some lights on for me already. So believe it or not, our van, your van is parked right on top of us right now.
Yep, it's straddling this beam.
Isn't that wild? You wouldn't expect wood framing, and frankly, relatively standard wood framing, to be able to support the weight of a vehicle, but it's really not that big a deal.
Well, you hear the term car decking that people might use for decoration. It was for cars. That's literally what it was for. So no deflection, no creaking whatsoever.
No, I did a video where I was down here and I had Nikki drive in the Tesla, hoping I would hear some creaking.
Because that Tesla weighs like 8,000 pounds, right?
I forget what the Model Y weighs, but it's heavy. And I'm like on camera like, hey, are you gonna pull in? She's like, I've been pulled in. He's like, well, this was a waste of time to shoot. There wasn't even a creak. Nothing. You know, because the slab's floating on top of that, helping to disperse the load.
Now, what's the assembly, Tim? You got a big beam that's carrying some load to a center column and concrete center column here. I-joists on 12-inch on center, maybe?
Yep, so it's like roughly 24 by 24.
Okay.
The engineer specs, you know, big footings down below.
Right.
With all the reinforcement. And then 3 columns. This is a 5 1/4 by 11 7/8. And so it's only spanning 11 feet.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out no steel too, right? I think a lot of people come down here and expect to see a bunch of steel I-beams and steel 4x4s. You don't need it.
I would really like to know, without this column, what would this beam have needed to be?
Oh, pretty big, I suspect.
Pretty big, steel of some kind.
Or do you divide it up into thirds maybe, have columns on each side? There's so many different structural solutions, but I think one of the funniest things, so most of our exterior wall is 24-inch on center. This is 12 as well.
I tried to get a 16.
And Timmy tried to work with the structural engineer.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. So if you look, each stud is lined up on that I-joist.
Exactly.
So we're perfectly lined up.
And the footing extends in, so it was a bigger footing, so that actually can be load bearing.
So we had to plan a little ahead. We put rock wool pre-installed on this one.
Okay.
We didn't think ahead on the last house, so it's nice to build a house twice. And figure out what you could do different.
For sure.
Then it's just 3/4-inch subfloor with a topping slab.
Okay, so this that I'm looking at the underside of is just 3/4 Advantech.
Advantech, yep.
And then what's on top of the Advantech before the topping slab?
That is the Vapro Shield, Slope Shield plus SA for self-adhered. I just wanted to be real careful by doing something that was vapor open instead of like you know, one of those roofing membranes that we've actually done in the past that's so waterproof, I don't know that any vapor could ever transfer through it. So I just wanted to be real safe on the vapor side.
But the point is that whole deck above us is waterproof before the concrete went down. So when you drive in with your car that's still got rain on it, let's say, that concrete is going to get wet, and we're trying to keep this framing dry. However, there's not going to be any insulation on this side. So if this were to get wet, it could dry to the inside too, right?
We're going to have insulation here because it's almost like a ceiling.
Oh, I guess that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So this one will get bad insulation. We're treating it kind of like a floor ceiling situation. Little vapor open, but the other thing is when you do a hard trowel finish, especially in a garage, that skin that you put on top is almost a waterproofer.
Gotcha.
Like a cast in place concrete doesn't allow a whole lot of water to go through it that's liquid, as opposed to like concrete block that people install. Water can just go through that super easy.
Yeah, and like here, I've had people criticize us because of the crack. When they come in and lay the slab, they know it's going to be finished.
This crack, they're criticizing you?
Yeah, you know
the old joke about concrete, right, Tim?
Yes.
There's two types of concrete. There's concrete that's cracked, and there's concrete that's going to crack.
We got the concrete that was going to crack. Well, we don't, when they do this finish, they know it's going to get finished surfaces, so the cracks can get sealed. And,
Did you order the cracked concrete from the batch?
They always laugh at me when I'm like, hey, I want it with fiber mesh and cracks. Apparently that's kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah, that's not all that funny, but it is funny for the old builders in the room.
It's funny for us.
We all know it's going to crack.
We end up doing a luxury vinyl plank down here as far as just being a little safer. It's practically bulletproof. If there is anything that happens, you can literally pick it up, wash it off, and put it back.
Oh, that's awesome. And you'll never see that crack underneath it too.
Exactly.
It's not structural, it's just a shrinkage crack.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you, Matt, is this is where our water line comes in.
Oh, what is this cool device you got going on
This is our flow-by-moan that actually works if you use it during construction.
Okay.
So it's a leak detector that the homeowner can get way more use out of later. But we had one house years ago, we had a $120,000 loss because we had a fitting go out at a toilet on the upper floor.
Oh,
third floor.
Gosh,
third floor.
Painful.
So this can basically trip the water, so to speak. And we did it as a bypass system. So you can ignore this if you had to. You can work on it. You can replace things, all that kind of stuff.
So in other words, we could turn these two valves off, bypass this, let the water go. Actually, it's in bypass mode at the moment, right? Yeah, really smart. And it needs power, so you put a plug in there to plug into.
Exactly.
And interesting to see you guys are plumbing with PEX A. Is this a PEX A market? A lot of PEX A in this market?
We were using the one with the rings. I don't even know what is that.
PEX B.
PEX B. Yeah. And I had a couple of problems with that, and it was, I would say, installation error.
Yeah. We
switched plumbers, and this is what they use.
Yeah, I really like it. Once that crimp ring is on, you know you can't dry fit it, in other words. You can't make the mistake. So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go check out the house next door, and I hear that you might have the first generation of Pioneer builders hanging out to say hi to us as well.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go meet them.
Well, Matt, this house is just about to go on the market, and I have a special guest inside for you.
Who's inside?
That would be my dad. I wish my mom was here too. He and Mom started the company back in the late 70s.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
And we've got my brother here too.
Hey, Mr. Uhler.
Yes.
Good to meet you, sir. Thanks for having us out today. Now, I want to know, Mr. Uhler, how did these boys learn to build houses? Because, I see a lot of videos of Tim, who does incredible concrete structural work, who's framing houses all day long. Brian's got a really good financial mind and obviously learned some accounting from you. But these guys were telling me earlier that you guys do about 50% or so of your builds self-performed, meaning you and a couple other guys who work for you. How did they get that? Was that you starting that? Was that your wife?
I was born and raised on a farm. And then I have a business degree, but when I started and went into business for myself, I actually framed, did all my cleanup. I did everything.
Fabulous.
Clearing, logging, the whole works. And then at night, I would do my bookwork.
You come in and work all night long, probably.
So that's where the accounting background was. I should say I worked for another builder for 6 years. and learned budgeting and bidding and that sort of stuff. So then they just kind of picked it up from there. So both of them learned how to clean up houses at a young age.
A lot of sheetrock scrapping.
We would be the fire watch with our BB guns, like enough candy to stay up all night.
No, but when you guys,
at Strawberry Hill, I think we were
Strawberry Hill, how young were you? And you guys
12.
came out?
Yeah. 10. I was probably 10.
Yeah.
You were 12.
Early 90s.
Wow. That's
So then-
fabulous. And you guys are kind of internal customers when you build a house, right? Like this house is going to be for sale soon. So we didn't have a buyer through the process. I'm assuming you actually have a real estate license, Brian? And
I don't. No, we always work with a real estate broker, but it's the same one for all of our houses.
Okay, so you're using a real estate broker. Now, what happens if you're in a bad market? Like this, if this market is not great and interest rates go up to 8 or 9%, what will you do with this house?
So I'll answer it this way. In the past, Dad got real creative. We've taken houses in on trade. We've carried contracts. Dad always said, if you have a willing buyer and a willing seller, you can usually make it happen. Sometimes there are no willing buyers.
Right.
And thankfully, because we've reinvested in the company so much, we can withstand a lot of the financial turmoil that goes on out there. So typically what we do is we'll rent the house out. And the nice thing is we don't have to cover property taxes and all of that kind of stuff. Doesn't work for everybody. If you're not self-financed,
Sure.
The equation changes dramatically.
Right.
But we rent the house out for maybe a couple of years. Eventually the market comes back. This was a bigger deal, I think, back in the day. But then when you would sell your house, you would be able to sell it at long-term capital gains instead of at ordinary taxation, ordinary income taxes.
Well, and then but through the years, I sold a lot of them on contract. And back then it was a healthy interest rate
Right.
and what have you. And if I'd have been smarter, I would have kept them
those.
that way. But so when it really slowed down,
We
was it
just did one
before
this
COVID?
way.
Yeah, we sold one 2 doors over on contract.
Oh, that's great.
Which worked out just perfect because that guy had to wait to sell his house, but he had
about that?
enough for the down payment, and we get a nice return.
Yeah, we get a pretty good down payment. Then you get the interest income.
Yeah,
But then in the case of renting, so you get the win on the taxes. You might get depreciation expense and things like that in the meantime. And then values will come back eventually.
Yeah.
Sure.
They always
They
do.
always do.
Instead of
Especially in a
having to take
major
the hit.
metro. Like Seattle's always been, just like Austin, Texas, where I am. There's always things happening. We might have a couple down years, but the trend is going to go up over the long term, even though the trend short term may not be good. Let's go out and see this patio. This is a gorgeous golf course. I want to see what it looks like back here. Oh man, that is a stiff deck there, Tim. I like this.
If it can hold your weight,
Then it must be okay.
must be okay.
287 pounds of solid muscle,
Nice.
Tim.
I'm only 185 pounds of twisted steel.
How about this view? This is gonna sell, I think. I mean, look at this. What hole is this over here?
No idea.
Hole number something.
One would think I would know, but I don't.
I like the cable rail you got going on here.
So that's not even cable, that's rod.
That's rod, really? Oh, I like it. Who makes this?
That is view rail. And we went through the engineering process, which was pretty darn painless.
Really?
Timmy,
It was really easy.
he was real happy with how much it matched what the drawings were.
So I just provided as-built, then they put it in their software. They had a couple questions. We went with the top mount, which is so simple.
This
Yeah.
is onyx rods.
Onyx rod, yeah.
This looks great.
For framers, like these two identical decks, how much faster do you think the second one went than
Oh,
the first?
so much faster, right?
Like more than twice as fast.
Oh, that's crazy.
And the guys are like, by our third one, we could probably get these really fast. 'Cause you just learn how all the pieces go together in the order of operations.
There was one thing, so we have lighting underneath here, LED
Really?
lighting.
Oh, that's cool.
And ViewRail supplies how to do the equation for it, but basically it's like length, how much amps per foot. I don't remember
Right,
what all the
right.
things were. So working with the electrician, he's supplying the drivers. He ran all of the, he'll run the line voltage as needed. He did that at the house. He'll tie in his drivers. All of these sections have a drop. So we were
Oh,
installing
so there's a
it.
cord down through here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So every section of rail has its own coil of LED.
Ah.
You measure it out with the rail, we learned if you follow the instructions, you put that in to get the length. You don't measure it. You just go to the railing.
Got it.
And then you snip off the end and you drop the wires down from one side.
Done.
So that we've got one switch inside is how we're controlling it. So all of this perimeter will be lit up as well as the handrails going down below. And then they call this a beverage
rail?
Yeah, like that. You could easily put your beer on top of that rail right
nice
there.
and wide.
Looks really nice.
And what was the height on this? Do you remember?
42.
42 inches.
Yep.
I gotta say, these stairs are really interesting. You don't see a lot of concrete and steel stairs. This looks like this. Is this the same view rail system that I'm seeing going down here as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Although what you're seeing on top of the stringers is actually just flashing.
This is a metal flashing? Oh, so it's not an I-beam that's that's coming down for that stringer?
PWT treated LVL. They're like 3.5 by 11 7/8. So we used to do this out of 4 by 12 pressure treated.
Yeah.
We'll try to find that without ugly knots.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just hideous. So this stuff is nice and uniform. And then what's the Sherman-Williams stuff we
I
painted over?
can't remember. Did you just say Sherman-Williams? Just to make
I
sure.
say that every time.
He always
Sherwin.
says
Sherwin.
Sherman-Williams. So
Sherman
it's
is the tank
Sherwin-Williams.
manufacturer.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
I don't remember what the
Because they're as strong as the
specification
tank.
was on the paint, but I think the black looks nice.
It's like
I
a
like it a
UV
lot.
rated.
It looks like steel. You would not have guessed.
Yeah, and
Ties
it's
in with
stiff.
all that.
It's
Now,
so
Tim,
strong.
pressure treated though, pressure treated you don't think of as being allowed to be used outside. Oh, check it out. The whole rest of your deck is pressure treated as well, isn't it?
So, up until now, we've all wanted to use LVL outside because of its consistency and strength, right?
Yeah.
Until PWT, there was no treated LVL.
There's the name right there, PWT.
Yeah.
Pacific Wood Treatment. Is that the name?
Pacific Wood Technology?
Wood Technology, okay.
They are just north of us a few hours. I'm going to do a plant tour. But basically, it's LVL that's rated for exterior. The glues have all the treatment in it. So all you have to do is tape the top of the joist, install it. I don't have to crown anything.
Oh, man. I
They're
bet.
lightweight, yeah.
Dead flat.
It's dead flat.
Every board you pull out is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So we could go, like, originally, this was designed with 4 columns.
Uh-huh.
Had we designed it with PWT treated in mind, we would have gotten rid of a column. We could have made everything bigger.
Right.
So one of the advantages is we can minimize the number of piers.
The spans can go a lot longer. You
Yeah.
probably need less columns.
I just absolutely love it
pretty neat.
because of how, like, pressure treated here, they infuse the treatment through these incise marks. Our pressure treated here looks different than the rest of the countries.
Yeah, here's a pressure treated
Yeah.
post right here.
And it's so heavy because of the water content.
And my understanding is the incise marks here on this type of pressure treated compared to my southern yellow pine is my southern yellow pine is more open and porous. Is this Doug fir?
Yeah.
And so the Doug fir is a denser material. It doesn't take the treatment as easily, so they have to incise it like a roller you'd see a baker use. And so they're basically poking holes in it so that treatment can get further.
And they're pressure, right? So pressure treated.
right.
I didn't really understand all that stuff in the past. They're forcing it in. So when we cut the end, the treatment only gets in about maybe as much as half an inch.
right
Whereas this stuff is treated from the inside out.
all the way.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
after
cool.
a year, it looks just fine. It looks
Yeah.
like it's brand new.
Now, what's this hardware right here? I don't know if my flashlight can see it very well. That's a piece you don't see except on newer decks. What is that doing for us?
It's like the lateral tie holds the whole deck. That screw has to go through the ledger and hit something solid like the top plates.
Yep.
And that's going to anchor the deck. We've got them at each end. I think we got 4 total on this one. And the code will spec that. It's like what, the Simpson DTTZ?
Yeah, it's a Simpson, I forget.
like
Deck
that.
tension tie, I believe.
It's a few screws.
DT.
Really easy to install. There's-
DTT.
Yeah.
And the idea is when you got a party and you got 20 people on the deck moving, that it's not going to pull off from the house. It's actually pushing it against the house continuously, so you don't have that ability to
Because if
fall
you're going to be
off.
on a deck, you're probably partying.
You're probably going to have 20 people and you're
Yeah.
dancing. I mean, you and I hardly
Yes.
go anywhere without dancing,
Right?
to be honest.
Just a few people doing the Running Man will just, yeah.
And then every single joist, you've got an uplift hanger on there too. Was that necessary from your codes here?
Yes and no. So because we're taping the top of the LVL, I did not want to put any fasteners through that tape. So we laid it out, we blocked it so that everything was where it needed to go. But
Yeah.
these basically hold it to the beam without puncturing the top of the tape.
Oh, that's smart.
It was just kind of like a longevity thing. It was like,
Yeah. And those are inexpensive, so why not do
Yeah.
it?
And the tape you're saying isn't on top of the joist. You're saying the tape that you put on top of the beam.
well, both. You got tape on top of the joist, tape on top of the beam,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart.
and tape on top of the stringers plus the metal.
Now I want to go back to the stairs again because this is new to me. So you've got these, it appears to be precast concrete treads, and then just a regular angle iron bolted into your LVL. Are these available locally? Did you have to look far and wide for these, or are these pretty?
It's I forget the name of the place. Puget Sound Precast. So these are like $55, including the hardware.
It's not bad at all.
It is like so easy to install these, pre-drill, mount them.
Yep.
There's a little bit of layout once you've done it once. It's so fast. These have the partially closed riser, so they give you a smaller depth.
Oh yeah.
And I think, is it number 3 bar that's in there for reinforcement?
Yeah, they show you all the drawings, even the placement of these.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they cast them.
But they get to control the whole installation,
and
manufacturing.
You can go custom widths, you can go wider. This was 36, we could have done 48. You could do a broom top. But essentially the reason why we do it this way is I don't like to cut stringers for decks because pressure treated is so just ugly, it's going to want to break.
Right.
This is about as strong as you can get. I feel like it's going to outlast me.
It was really stiff when I walked on it. I couldn't believe how solid that staircase. That's why I really thought it was steel.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like steel.
And then for me, I don't work with steel, so wood is easy. I just get a bigger saw.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a couple of things I could show you inside this house, even on the mechanical side.
Oh yeah, you know, we didn't talk basement mechanicals. Let's go in here and check this out. I'll meet you inside.
Well, instead of starting upstairs like Architectural Digest, let's start in the best area, the basement.
I like a good basement tour. So just like the other house we were just in, big wide open space, and we saw the pre-plumb on the other one ready to go that had your Freon line and your condensate. This is your Daikin mini split head. And is this a one-to-one system?
This is one-to-one. I think it's a 9K BTU. Right now it's calling for 64 degrees for its set point, but it's 70 degrees down here. So you can see the house is just coasting.
Yeah, it doesn't need a whole lot.
We pre-plumbed for a little kitchenette.
Ah, that's why the outlet's at the counter height.
Yep, pre-wiring through here.
Smart.
Kitchen's upstairs, so we have some of our wet room, you know, somewhat stacked.
I like this floor too. This is that LVT.
LVT, yep. And then we've got
for a basement.
4 inches of concrete, 2 inches of foam underneath there.
Okay.
That was supposed to be a mechanical room, but we have nothing in there for mechanicals. And then in here.
Great looking bathroom. Looks good.
Yeah.
Everything you need.
Everything you need.
Yeah. Pretty.
Now, you called it a storage room in the last house. I think this is going to be like where you put your kids.
Yeah, this could be a great rec room.
Pretty good rec room.
I could see a pool table in here, ping pong on one side,
Xbox,
jukebox in the corner.
And with the concrete, it should be a little quieter.
The music room. That's
music room.
Kids go play drums.
Yep, for sure. Does the foam come with the house?
The foam, yeah, because we've got no use for it anymore.
We could probably make 30 or 40 party coolers out of this foam. It'd be pretty nice.
Check this out. This is one of the things I wanted to show you. This is my design, but I did get help on it.
What is this? Oh, look at you.
Magnets.
I'm impressed.
So anyway.
That was great.
This was our first time trying it. And
piece of drywalls and magnets.
Just very simple.
Awesome. So that's the mow and flow that we saw in the other house. And that's how you get into it. That makes sense. And then what's up with the vents on the wall here that I'm seeing? This guy looks like one of those, I think you mentioned in the other house, the cadet heaters, right?
Yep.
So this is like, in effect, a hairdryer. Probably just 500 or 1,000 watts.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Resistance heat, just a little bit of supplemental heat.
I've got the set point to 64, 65 in here. It's not running. And part of the idea is with this fan, this grill up here.
So what's that grill?
We have a fan on the outside with a little transfer so that it can take heated or cooled air from in there.
Oh, it's
bring it in
air
here.
share fan.
It's an air share fan. It's a Panasonic, but we also have a separate ventilation system, the Panasonic Whisper Comfort, their new model. So you can also get fresh air from the hallway.
How about that?
Transferred into this room.
So this is your energy recovery ventilator, which is fresh air, but it also takes the penalty of both heat and humidity away by running it through this core right here. This one also is nice because it's changeable on your fan speeds,
You can set both fans in intake and exhaust. So if you've got one person down here, you do not need 50 CFM continuous.
No,
So you can adjust it, use an air monitor so you can see what you actually need.
That's pretty sweet.
We've got a kill switch in the closet in there, a boost switch that actually can bump these up to 60 CFM. We just tested them and it was like 60 on the nose.
How about that?
It was pretty great.
And then this fan that you just showed me the other side a second ago is normally used as a bathroom exhaust. And if I remember correctly, this guy from the other house changes from something like 50 or 60 CFM.
50, 80, and 100.
50, 80, 100, that's
Yep.
it right there. So that little switch will basically change the fan speed. So if you wanted more air, if you had a bunch of people in that room all the time, bump it up to 100. If you're hardly ever using it, drop it down to 50. And it probably uses like 10 watts of power.
It's got an electrically commutated motor, an ECM, so it will, if it's sensing static pressure, it'll ramp up if it needs to. There's going to be no static there. There's no duct. It just goes through that little transfer deal. Yeah, and then, you know, you've got your smoke CO detector by code that you have to have outside a bedroom. So it's on the mechanical side, you have to think through a lot of these variables. But this house down, or the area down here, is totally self-contained from a heating, cooling, ventilation perspective.
You know what? I got to give you guys a compliment. You guys are a small company. You've been in business a long time. You obviously know your numbers, and you're putting in fabulous mechanical systems to this house that are frankly not that expensive. I think a lot of builders could learn from you guys and do this for their clients, because I see multi-million-dollar houses that have no provision for fresh air and are just not paying attention. And you guys have done a really good job of air sealing. You've done a really good job, obviously, waterproofing, because that's number one in this climate, right?
Yep.
But then once you do that, you get a really good envelope that doesn't need a ton of heating or cooling. A 9,000 BTU, that's a 3/4 ton mini split, which is not a very expensive unit.
And
to
it's not
begin
even
with.
running right now.
It's not even running right now. This shares air into the other room, so just one mini split for the whole basement. And then you've got a pretty budget priced Panasonic ERV, which is pretty simple to duct, pretty simple to install, but yet is giving these people living maybe in these 2 bedrooms continuous fresh air that multi-million-dollar houses in this neighborhood don't have.
And then ultimately the finishes, you know, mom's not here today, but she helps with the colors. That's accessible beige.
Accessible
I
beige,
think
that's
hilarious.
hilarious.
Might be the color for the trim.
Is that Sherman-Williams?
Sherman-Williams?
Accessible beige?
Sherman-Williams.
I've heard it both ways.
But even keeping the finishes clean and simple, that's a whisper value fan.
Look, I even got the grill back on correctly.
Which is pretty inexpensive from a fan like, I don't think you can replace a fan like that cost versus how well made it is.
I mean, there's a $25 model of that fan, but this one's probably a whopping 75, right? Or something like that.
It's worth it.
You're being smart with your money.
Yeah. Yep.
Super impressive, guys.
Can I show you a couple things upstairs?
Let's go upstairs.
All right, Matt, we are upstairs, and just a couple of quick things to walk through.
That's pretty.
Vaulted ceiling, the last house, you got to see the framing. Now you get to see how it played out.
Plus, I get to see this ladder, which I really like. Look at that nice platform.
Isn't that awesome?
And you can't fall over, too,
And you've
because
got
it's got the hip
holes
hugger.
there to put stuff in.
I put my
rubber
flashlight
there.
up here. Yep.
Yeah.
It's got a flashlight holder right there. This is nice.
It's the little thing.
I can't quite reach the ceiling, though. Darn it.
The life of Uhler. We've never
just a
reached
little
the ceiling.
taller.
Now the next house, we're gonna actually do hardwood going into the master bedroom.
So is this pre-finished or is this
No,
site
that's
finished?
that's site finished.
Site finished.
So that's oak with 3 coats of finish for now. I love this carpet, but I think on the next one we're gonna go ahead and run the hardwood
Hardwood's
into
in.
here.
Yeah.
Vaulted ceiling again.
I like these vaulted ceilings.
Return for the ERV
Yep.
there.
Man, this is pretty. Look at that nice solid surface.
Double
That looks like
vanity.
a quartz, maybe.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
pretty.
Couple of banks of drawers. I like to do double duplex receptacles in the middle, separate lights.
What's up with this cool drain?
So we tend to do fiberglass or acrylic or whatever the units
Yeah.
are because they're just kind of bulletproof and cheaper.
Yeah, and they never
That's
leak.
just the design, exactly.
Yeah, and they're half or a third or a quarter of the price of a tile floor.
And then apparently we have actual soap that was left in here. I don't know what's going on.
Did someone shower in this house? hilarious.
Humidity sensor in this. So when I spec the fans, there's a whole lot of different modules you can get.
Okay.
In a bathing room, I always have a humidity sensor.
So it just automatically turns
Automatically.
on. It feels the humidity from the shower coming out.
Water
Nice
closet.
big closet too. This is beautiful.
Up in the attic, we've got the Panasonic IntelliBalance 100 ERV.
Okay.
Similar switching situation on-off to kill it from in here.
Yep.
And then a boost function from down here. So you can ramp the whole thing up for its fan speeds.
I got a speculative build question for you.
Yes.
Because, you know, I did this project called the Reisinger build that was really a spec, but it was kind of the build show live, you know, kind of show house. And I didn't do any closet pack whatsoever in there, in the master that is, because I thought, well, we'll just say this is meant for you to go out and get your California closets pack. Now you've done a more basic setup in here, but this would be easy to pull out if they wanted to do a California closet. What's your thought on putting one in versus not?
So much, you know, we talked to Dad earlier, is just what we've always done. Some things we're always trying to level up and upgrade. I think this is a regional thing. Like, I can't even think of a model home that I've been through that doesn't have closet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, closet shelving already included.
Ready to go. Yeah, that's interesting.
But we usually, like, we design it. We think ahead where somebody might want a piece of furniture here, piece of furniture here.
Sure. Have you ever used, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
Have you ever used Alpha shelving by, what's the name of the closet store, organization store? It's that one that has a top hung track. And they've got all these shelf. I have it in my office and shelf standards. I did an old house with that. It's real modular. It's real easy to change. You could put a real basic system in.
Yeah.
And then you can come in and option it later.
Yeah, just because we've always done it one way doesn't mean we should continue. Always looking to level up.
Container store. I couldn't think of it. That's
okay.
what it is.
Cool.
You should look into it and see what you think for a future project.
Yeah.
Might be an option.
Little things. We put a receptacle in the closet.
In here so that when you need to run your iron in here. You've got a spot to plug it in, or for me, I'm a steamer.
Yeah.
I love steaming my True Work shirts.
Nice.
In the morning.
Well, the other place we always put them, this is a mom thing. When we've got dog leg stairs, we always put a receptacle on the stairwell to make vacuuming easier.
Yeah, that's smart.
Just the little things.
Well done, sir. Good looking house.
Appreciate it.
I like it. We're going to all say our prayers that this house sells quickly and for a high price.
Dad? Dad, is that you?
Yeah, I probably sound like your dad, don't I? Oh, man.
We've got another house under construction. You want to go check that one out?
We'll meet you there. All right, gentlemen, a little bit of a remote job site here. Any concerns with security when you're doing remote houses like this? I mean, we're surrounded by woods here.
Not anymore.
How so? What's the story?
Well, I think we're into it for about $15,000 in losses on this one.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
They busted down the fence when we first had it in, and they stole most of our roof sheathing.
Oh my God.
Those guys
Bunch of
had it
studs.
figured out. We could kind of see from a different camera system we were trying.
Hey! Contact, you're running. Stop! Police! You're under arrest!
And they just took apart the fence. That's why we started putting those eco blocks.
Uh-huh.
And then they siphoned out all the diesel in one of our forklifts.
one.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And then that was like $7,000.
Yeah,
in
because once
damage.
water got in there, you know, it's an old machine, then you got to
Oh, it's so
send
brutal.
parts out to be rebuilt.
All for $20 in diesel. You should put a $20 bill in
I
the
would have
tank and
given
be like,
them
"Take this instead."
$1,000 to leave us alone.
Totally. So what are you doing about security now? Like, how do you know if someone's on site?
Want me to show you?
What do you mean cameras? I don't see any cameras.
I'm not going to point out where the camera's at.
Look at that, dude. We're on camera as we speak.
Yeah, there we are.
That's pretty wild. Live action. There's Daniel filming us.
Yeah. So it's just, what is that, about 2-second delay maybe?
Yeah, not a bad delay at all.
Not bad. So
it's pointed towards the oh, there it is.
Yep. See the little solar panels, the
Solar
giveaway.
panel, okay. Yeah, and a pretty nice little, what is that system you're using?
It's the RioLink. It's RioLink, but I think specifically it's their trail cam. So it's got the little camo. So we got one on the front, one here, and then one where they would come out of the trails.
And then we've got 2 lights. One of them's up there. That is not the
pretty.
finished light, I promise. I forget how much we paid. Pretty inexpensive. We have one there, one down at the street.
That's great.
Solar powered.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad at
Yeah,
all.
because we
Solar.
park the machine where there's light.
Right there, yeah.
That way if
Smart.
something will trigger us and we can
I
come
mean,
out.
every builder that's been around for a couple years has a story of theft, and it like gets your blood boiling again when you think about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's had a loss like that. It's terrible.
Kyle and I were talking and I was like, dude, I totally get why if you stole a horse back in the day, the town just chased you down and killed you.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like, I'm so indignant. I'm not going to kill them. But I
Theft.
do want them to feel like they're about to die.
Oh, there's nothing like theft that gets my blood
Oh, it really does.
boiling.
Oh, and I guess one other thing from a construction side, I installed the garage doors out of sequence.
Yeah, so you
We
get 'em locked
always
down.
wait until after drywall.
Yeah, yeah.
But in this case, you have to put the backing and all that
And
kind
we
of
are
stuff.
locked, you know, you can't really see in through the Inotech windows before we take the
Yeah, that's smart.
stuff
Pretty
off.
black and white theme, by the way. I really like this. It looks like black Inotech windows and a real kind of whitish farmhouse kind of look. It looks like maybe even a black aqua hose bib
Yep,
on the
black
side here.
aqua hose bib. We got a black hose that goes with it.
about
I think
that?
the connectors might be black.
Yeah, this is nice.
It's a thing.
I like it. We're in mechanicals though, so how about we give these guys a little tour inside? Come on inside with us.
Framers, first in, last out.
Oh man, I love it. This looks great. Always fun to see a house in framing.
Yeah.
Now oh, look at this. We got a little crawl space we can check out too. What's that white liner I'm seeing down there?
So this is Stego Crawl.
Killer.
This is the 10 mil. We wrap it up to the foundation walls.
All right, I can't help myself.
You
I'm
gotta
sorry.
get in there.
I gotta get in. Oh baby, I wish I had the camera right now. I'm gonna have to show you guys what this looks like. This looks awesome.
Rock
Very
wool
nice.
on the walls.
Rock wool on the full perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And then what will you do for conditioning down here?
You know, we're actually not going to add any heat or anything, although there will be some because
Yep.
we'll have a ducted mini split unit down there.
Yep.
The bigger thing for me is the vapor side, so we're going to do a Santa Fe dehumidifier. Our first one, Compact 70.
Killer. That's
Yeah.
gonna be nice. You know the thing I love about this? All my remodels in Texas that are slab on grade. Is this awkward that I'm standing in the
No,
crawl
it's that
space?
Brian just bonked his head.
I just
Oh,
totally
sorry.
how many
wailed
times
my
I've done
head.
that?
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, sorry, dude.
Concussion protocol.
He's like a football star. He's had a couple of those before. So a conditioned crawl space, if you ever do a remodel in this house, your grandchildren who are running Pioneer Builders someday are gonna thank you because you can just plug and play anything. Whereas in Texas with all my slab on grades, it is a giant deal to bust out the concrete. And is it a post-tension slab? Dear Lord, don't hit a post-tension
Yep, don't hit
cable
a
by
tenon.
accident. Will kill somebody on the job. So being able to just pop down in here, drop a flashlight. Hey, is everything good? Is there a leak? Is there a problem? Man, it's so nice. I
Yeah.
do love a good condition crawl. All right, now hopefully I can get myself back out of here.
Just watch your head when you go
Watch your
up.
head. Sometimes you can hit it on framing.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, I'm gonna miss that.
I know a guy. Yeah, you're pretty spry for a...
53-year-old man.
Got you to say it.
Not bad, not bad. Oh, this looks great. Look at this. We're using LVLs for rafters too. You don't see that every day.
29, 30 feet, right, from plate all the way to the ridge. We used to split 2x12s there, but I-joists, they're just lighter. It's easy to cut.
I like that. And look at all the shear wall like the last house. Goodness gracious.
So here's what's cool about this house, Matt. There's like 3 walls that are not balloon framed.
Is that right?
So we framed, that's the big 44-foot, 25-foot tall wall, same here.
Yep.
This we actually pre-built and then set it off to the side.
Wow.
So we could just drop it in. So then that means the whole floor system's ledgered.
So show me some of those connectors on the floor so we can see how it connects in. So there's the ledger board right there. So it's an LVL. And then how'd you attach that LVL ledger to these
You can see it
studs?
nicely over here, Matt.
Just like
There
a
you
deck
go.
ledger, the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
exact
okay.
screws.
So it's a Simpson structural screw.
Yep.
What am I seeing the plastic on there for? What's that
So
being used
that's
for?
leftover Stego Crawl.
Okay.
And I use that primarily as an air barrier connector.
Okay.
And then
Gotcha.
also for vapor, you can kind of make an argument that I didn't need it for vapor,
Yeah.
but it's there anyway.
Gotcha. So that's ledgered through. Then you just put a hanger on, and then boom, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to fire block this. This hasn't been fire blocked yet. No,
Oh, no.
it is
So
blocked up there. Sorry.
We try to line that all up with, because we have to block our panel edges for shear. So then we just line those up with the floor or like a ceiling
There you
and
go.
work the sheathing lengths from there.
There you go.
And then
that
this,
makes sense.
on the flat, we have sheathing zip that goes down there to the mud cell.
Yep. So these are strictly in there for nailers.
Correct, yep,
Yep.
just panel edge nailing.
Yep.
And all LVL stud. And it was amazing how much stiffer the wall was as it went up versus
that
just
right?
dug for 2x6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I frame my whole house in LVL studs. I just did 2x4, not 2x6, but All my rafters are OVLs too, and man, it's such a stiff house. I love it.
Yeah.
Did I have to do it? No, but
Well,
I really
it's same
like
here.
it.
Like we don't have to balloon frame, but like right behind Brian, it's a full height glue lam column from the ridge all the way down.
This guy.
And we could quadruple up studs, but if I order it as a glue lam, it just helps to keep the wall stiff, and
Yep.
and then the load path is uninterrupted all the way down.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And just while we're in here talking about framing, the pocket headers, that's become pretty much a standard for us.
So you can insulate that full header depth then, right?
Exactly.
And I love it because I can order odd length sizes like 13 foot or 17 foot, and they're so much lighter as a single ply LVL versus a 4x10 Doug fir.
Yeah, that's so much lighter.
If anybody's watching, you can kind of see, Matt, under the flap is some Rockwool comfort board.
Oh yeah.
So we use leftover from the crawl space up there because of the ledger going on. So you have to sequence everything right. Otherwise, as you would know, you'd have cavities with nothing in them.
Yeah, that's smart.
So that's one of the advantages of getting to work together for so many years, is we can work on those details instead of a frame carpenter that you've never worked with. They don't think of that.
I used to just be a framer. Now I do some insulating. Now I do some vapor control. Lots of
a
skills.
lot of air sealing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. I love it. Now, did you do the structural concrete on this job too, Tim?
Yep. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Not the flat work and not the flat work out front here like the patio, but we do the foundation.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
Ethan was even up here and got to
Yeah.
do some troweling.
He was troweling. Yeah, and a big part of it is like we have the hold downs there. So because the shear wall is narrower than it is tall, like the length to width, I can accurately locate those. Even if we subbed it out, I'll still come on site and locate the bolts for the guys. Because I lay out the panels like I'm laying out the wall.
Yep.
And then you can't idiot proof it. And then like we could cut off some of the threaded rod there.
That's really smart.
Just makes it easy.
For sure.
I like that stuff.
What else should we see in here, guys? on the
Let me
frame
run
side?
you upstairs and I'll show you our solution for behind bathtubs.
Let's do it. All right, so we're checking out a tub up here, Brian.
Yeah, so this will be, you can see it from back here. It's fairly concealed, but one of the biggest things that's challenging is to air seal behind a tub.
Yep.
And so what we've landed on is the Rockwool stud stud cavity. Then we've got the My Rex from Sega.
Yep.
But to adhere that, have you ever heard of Tweenet?
Yeah.
They're double-sided tape.
Double-sided tape.
So we've got the double-sided tape first, then we put this on, then the Reese on,
Killer.
and then we can put this in and we're good to go. Obviously there's other ways to do it, but I think it's a pretty nice assembly.
I like it. Yeah, that looks great. And that gets done poorly in a lot of houses.
Yes.
So seeing that done correctly is really, really good. That's great. Nice
Now-
job, fellas.
I think it kind of, there's so much insulation solutions going on in this house, but it's all vented on the underside of the sheathing.
Okay.
This will have at the ceiling line down here at the flat line insulation. In here, where the top cords are, we've actually taken a, what do you call it? Like a radiant barrier with the foil facing up.
Okay.
We put that on the underside of the top cord, so we have sheathing that's undervented.
Yep.
We'll spray foam it, Rockwool it, and then we'll have one of two indoor units up top here on the attic platform. We'll have the ERV up there as well, and we'll hijack
Killer.
the ducting for that. The other heating unit will be in the basement, so it'll all be mini split tech, but all of it will be concealed and no wall mounted units.
That's awesome. And then this is your access point to get into that ceiling right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pop a ladder right here and then you can access all that up there. And that's part of the air conditioned space of the house.
Exactly. And some of it is, not done this way at all. Like another part of the house is like what we just talked about. So it's kind of understanding all of the structure and what you're trying to achieve, but it was really about ductwork in conditioned space.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, Matt, I think last year at JLC, we talked about those hangers. They were pretty new from Simpson because they're skewable and slopable.
Oh yeah, check that out.
So they're easy to install, but you see a lot of times people will like make a kerf in the plumb cut of a rafter and then use a regular joist hanger, and it's like, no, use these. The slope adjusts.
And then you had to add that piece of 3/4 Advantech on both sides to pad it out.
Yep.
Yeah. To give you something to nail to.
Yeah, it's just a good way for us to use up scrap. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
it's not cheaper to use I-joist. Like you do have some more pieces to it, but the long lengths, the strength, the lightweight, and then it's like dead flat.
Yeah. That roof's not gonna have any humps over the years, that's for sure. It's gonna be nice and solid. I like it, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
It's a good looking house.
Each one gets just like a little bit better. The next one we'll try monopoly framing and do some other things.
Ooh, some monopoly framing. I
am
like
excited
talking about that.
Yes.
So I'm curious, you guys have been in the business now for, let's call it 30-ish plus years. How many houses do you think you guys have done together over 30 years?
Oh, man.
I started job costing, posting by hand, anyway, we'll get into the nerdy stuff. I know you like the building science nerdy stuff, but probably not the accounting nerdy stuff.
Accounting nerdy is important too.
I was doing it by hand, some of the accounting back in the day, and I think we were on job number maybe 264.
Wow.
The one that we were clearing earlier today is job 444.
So you guys have done 444 homes as Pioneer Builders so far.
Dad didn't have a naming convention back in the day, so we don't even know how many. But that gives you an idea. That gives you an idea.
It's in the multiple hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Guys, what a privilege to be out on the job site with you. You guys, I'm assuming, already are following these guys on social media and all the things out there, but you should absolutely go check them out. Tim's awesome. If you just look up the word awesome framers on Google, you'll find him. He's on the Grams and the YouTubes and the whole shebang.
The talks.
All the places. Just a fabulous educator. And frankly, a fabulous dancer. I mean, I think we should probably do a Running Man together to end this.
I'm going to warm up.
You should warm up because I'm going to get my Running Man out. And then Brian has been on the Build Show as a contributor for about 2 years now. And really, I love the breadth of your content because you get into nerdiness on HVAC systems. You also get into the business of building. And I think you're an incredibly established businessman. And you bring a lot of business sense because frankly, without being profitable, builders aren't going to be in business very long.
Thank you.
So I appreciate everything you've done both of you have done for our industry, guys. With that being said, guys, this is Build Across America with Pioneer Builders. We'll see you next time on the Build Show. No music either.
We're in like the same beat.
They're still going. It's not.
I can do it all day.
I'm out.
I was like, I'm going to go until Matt stops.